You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hello, everybody. Today would have been the 99th birthday for my grandmother. My grandmother was born in County Cork, Ireland, though she doesn't consider herself Irish. She considered herself British. She lived in England during the war, raised her children, and lost a set of twins during a bombing when the hospital was hit. She drove, even though she never had a driver's license, during the war she would drive medical supplies out from the main offices to the field. She just was an amazing woman. She got divorced in the 50s and 60s when that wasn't a normal thing, and just went out and got a job at the auto club and started working there. She crocheted like crazy. She was the first person to teach me to crochet, and you can see that I'm still doing it. So yeah, she was a badass, and she passed away back in 2016. So just wanted to remember her today on her birthday. And like I said, she would have been 99 today. Pretty impressive. So we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff after this. So stick around for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Thursday, December 8th, and we have a lot to talk about today. A lot's been going on. So we're going to dive deep into the mess that is DC. Some news came out yesterday and really kind of riled things up. So we're going to talk about that. I've gone a little in depth into it. But before we do, there was some news I wanted to cover. By the way, hello, Ed and Cool. Good to see you guys. The trend of adapting novel series seems to be continuing. We are going to, later this month, we're going to get the third season of Jack Ryan. They're working on the second season of Jack Reacher. They're also working on Alex Cross with Aldous Hodge from Black Adam. Guy that played Hawkman will be playing Alex Cross. So it's really big right now. The Termination List, I think it's called, the book series that JD wanted me to watch. Yeah, there's just a ton of these adaptations going on. Well, now you can add two more. Two stories dropped today. Hello, Triple B. Two stories dropped today. First is kind of a big one in that Mike Flanagan and Trevor Macy are going to be doing The Dark Tower. They're going to be adapting it at Intrepid. And originally it was supposed to be over at Netflix, but Amazon is picking it up. And Amazon is the one that's doing a lot of these adaptations. You know, I think they have the other three that I mentioned, the Alex Cross, the Jack Reacher, and the Jack Ryan. So, you know, they made a deal to bring these guys over with the Dark Tower. Now, there was a movie adaptation a couple years ago with Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba, but it did not go over very well. Oh, The Peripheral was based on the William Gibson series, huh? Okay. I've been meaning to check that out. Gibson, of course, is kind of the father of cyberpunk. He's the one that kind of coined that phrase. Yeah, Amazon did an amazing job with Rings of Power. I have been very impressed with both the Jack Ryan and the Jack Reacher series. So both are series that I have read and really liked the adaptations of it. I didn't like the Termination List as much, but I think that was it. It's not really for me, but they're doing a really good job with these adaptations. So the fact that they're going to do the Dark Tower, and they're doing it as a series, I think is better for it. This is a pretty in-depth, pretty dense story. So I think having the time to do it properly, to do it over a series of episodes and instead of trying to do it in a couple movies makes a lot more sense. So I'm really looking forward to that. By the way, The Witcher is also a series of novels before it became a video game. But the movie had such a weird idea. Wasn't it based after the books? The Dark Tower? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it, but it got just, I don't know. So, and then the other book series that they're talking about is the Destroyer series, or you might know him better as Remo Williams. The one of the producers from Better Call Saul, Gordon Smith, is going to be doing these for Sony. And I mean, these were a huge series of pulp novels from the 70s and the 80s. It kind of at the same time there was Mac Bolan, and there was this big move. There was this move for these type of characters. It was created by Warren Murphy and Richard Sapir, and they did do a movie adaptation, and I absolutely loved the movie. It was called Remo Williams: The Adventure Begins back in 1985, and it was Fred Williams, Wilford Brimley, Joel Grey, and it was problematic as hell because Joel Grey played an Asian guy in that. And it's like, that Joel Grey is an Asian, right? You could have just cast an Asian. Yeah. But other than that, it was a fun movie. Never heard of it, huh? Yeah, you can find it. I believe you can probably find it for free out there. I think back when Fred Ward passed away last year, I think I found it for free on one of the channels, one of the online channels like Tubi or something. So, yeah. So it also had Kate Mulgrew in it from Star Trek Voyager and Mrs. Columbo. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Yeah. So I'm hoping they bring that level of fun into the series. There was supposed to be a sequel movie too, but it never happened. Or there was something, I don't remember. Maybe they did do something. Or no, there was a TV adaptation of it. They tried to do a TV adaptation in the past. It didn't work well. So let's see if they do a better job of it. I don't see which network is doing it, though. It's Sony, but Sony doesn't have their own streaming service. So we'll have to see who ends up picking it up. But hey, happy to see that it is in the works. So, all right, let's get to the big topic of the day. Oh, JD says, I know time doesn't seem to dilate these days, but he died in May of, Fred died May of this year. Wow. What was the name of it again? Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Was it really just May? Wow. So much has happened between now and that, back then. I mean, geez. Okay. So yeah, big topic has to do with, well, it really all started with a tweet, it seems. On Tuesday, Gal Gadot went out and posted on Twitter this specific quote. So she says, "A few years ago, it was announced that I was going to play Wonder Woman. I've been so grateful for the opportunity to play such an incredible, iconic character. And more than anything, I'm grateful for you, the fans. Can't wait to share her next chapter with you." Now, that sounds pretty positive, right? She's coming out saying, "Hey, we're gonna do the next chapter. This is great." And there's been word that Patty Jenkins was working on a script treatment, was supposed to be turned in any day, that things were going to move forward on Wonder Woman 3. Well, then, so that was Tuesday. On Wednesday, I think it's pronounced Boris Kitt, Borys. I've never seen Boris spelled with a Y, but Boris Kitt wrote an article on the Hollywood Reporter that basically claimed a lot of huge changes coming to DC Studios a week prior to when new co-heads James Gunn and Peter Safran are supposed to make their big 10-year plan pitch to Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Now, this article has spawned 1,000 other articles. Hell, it spawned this episode. That's why I'm doing this. Now, basically, the article is claiming the end of the world is here and at hand, and everybody's going to be fired, and the Snyderverse is dead. So there's a lot of speculation based off of speculation stacked on top of speculation. So let's break down what was actually in the report first. Now, it starts off with a claim that Gunn and Safran, we need a ship name for them, like Guffrin or Gunrin or something, just so I don't have to keep saying Gunn and Safran, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to say that a lot. Well, they have returned from their creative retreat in Aspen, Colorado. They were hanging out there together, working up their 10-year plan. But supposedly they are back in Los Angeles with a working blueprint for what the new DCEU is going to look like. Now, they're expected to meet with Zaslav and unveil this vision of how everything will connect, the film, television, gaming, and all other media involving the DC characters. Now, Kidd explains that much of the plan is still in the works, kind of a work in progress. And what is done, Peter Gunn, did I say? Oh, yeah, Peter Gunn, there you go. And what is done is being kept secret. So right there, he's saying it's not complete, and what is decided on is being kept a secret. So you have to start up and go, wait, well, then what is this article about? Well, he says there are still some possible scoops, and he specifically uses the word possible. So right there, you have to take everything in his article with a grain of salt. Now, the first piece of news they share is that multiple sources are saying that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 3 is not moving forward in its current state. Now, Jenkins had recently turned in a script treatment, and supposedly Gunn and Safran were expecting an actual script, but they got a script treatment that she had done with co-writer Jeff Johns. Now, if you're not familiar with Jeff Johns, he's been involved with Warner Brothers for years. He was involved in the Justice League movie, the Green Lantern movie. He's also a comic writer who wrote the Flash Rebirth and the Green Lantern, Lantern Corps War, and basically he was a major writer at DC for a long time, DC Comics, and then Stargirl is his creation. So Jeff Johns has really got his bona fides, and he's also a very nice guy. I did a signing with him on a free comic day a few years, well, more than a few years ago now, and got to hang out with him for a day, and he was just a really nice guy. Somebody walked up with a bag full of his comics, like the duffel bag, and the guy had taken the bus to get there, and Jeff just stacked all the books, signed, and then anytime somebody else walked up, he'd turn and do their books, and he'd go back to signing this guy's stuff until he got through this entire stack of books. So props to Jeff Johns. Now, she was told, so Jenkins walks in with the script treatment and was told by Gunn and Safran, as well as the co-CEOs of Warner Studios, Mike DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, that the project as it stood did not fit with the new plans. Now, again, these are the plans that aren't exactly complete and that are still being kept under wraps, but the Wonder Woman 3 stuff doesn't fit. Now, no decision has been made, according to this, on what the next step for the character will be. And the article also mentions that the studio is not wanting any, and I love this, I didn't even know this was a word, overburdensome films. Overburdensome. And that by not making the film, well, then they don't have to pay Gal Gadot the $20 million salary that she would get, or Patty Jenkins her $12 million to direct. And by the way, those numbers don't include any back-end bonuses or anything that they would get from their contracts. So, you know, if Zaslav is looking to save money, not doing the movie, well, you save $32 million right there. Now, of course, Kit did the proper due diligence, reached out to Warner Brothers, who had no comment. Now, they go on to explain that the rest of the slate of films remains in flux, that this is previously admitting that the 10-year plan had not been shared yet and was still a work in progress and being kept secret, but of course, they have rumors and possible scenarios to consider. So, yeah. I'm not sure where these rumors are coming from if the plan hasn't been shared yet. But we'll continue on through this article, because this was not a small article, and like I said, it's caused a lot of stir online. So we go on. It says, could shutting down Wonder Woman 3 be the final curtain for the Snyderverse? Could this lead to a cleaning of the slate and seeing no more Henry Cavill Superman or Jason Momoa Aquaman? Big speculation, but they report about rumors saying that there are discussions inside the studio on whether or not to keep the Superman and Aquaman cameos in the upcoming Flash film. So the idea that it's not that they're talking about getting rid of Cavill and Momoa altogether, they're talking about getting rid of the cameos that appear in the Flash movie. Now, both are already filmed, but the concern is that they want those cameos in the film if they kind of promise a future that is not the long-term plans for DC. You know, is there something that a character or a scenario that happens with one of them that says, oh, this is what's going to set up this movie, and then they're not going to do that movie, then do they want to have that cameo in there? They go on to say that no plans have been finalized, but the Flash still remains an unlocked picture. So, but it's not due out until early next year, so why would it be locked yet? Then we move on to talk about Cavill and how he cameoed in Black Adam, and supposedly the studio is not happy because of how The Rock manipulated everything to get Cavill in it. But so Cavill appears in a cameo in Black Adam, and then he posts on social media that he's back as Superman. And at the time, the studio was supposed to be considering a Man of Steel 2, And they were even talking to the Flash director about a guy named Andy Muschietti, about a lighter, more hopeful tone that would be kind of in the mode of the Richard Donner Superman films. And supposedly, DeLuca and Abdi wanted another go-around with the Snyderverse characters and even do another Justice League movie, but all of that was before Gunn and Safran were hired. Ed says, a lot of times cameos kind of ruin a movie, so I'm not too sad to hear cameos might not happen. Fair enough. All right. Now, the article goes on to say that a sequel to Black Adam was unlikely because the film only grossed $385 million worldwide, and while costing $190 to $230 million to produce, that the film would be lucky to break even. Now, that said, Variety said that the film was likely to lose between 50 and 100 million, and then The Rock came out and said that's wrong. Deadline did an article showing that it's more likely to actually make a profit between 50 and 75 million. But even with a profit, the rising cost of actors and stuff would, according to this article, make a sequel or the Hawkman spinoff that folks were talking about very unlikely. So that answers, was it Jeff's question yesterday? I think it was Jeff. But yeah, supposedly things aren't going well for Black Adam and the Rock. So, all right, let's take a quick break here, and we will continue on and talk about Jason Momoa and his future as Aquaman and everything else from this article. We'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code. You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula. You want the comics? You buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We've got a great lineup today. After this is What's in the Box. then Space Cadets, and of course we have our late night show, Kicking It with Henri. So you'll want to stick around for all of that. Let's see. Ed says, I'm sure with DVD and digital purchases and streaming fees, it should at least break even. But the point is to make money. I still think one of the biggest problems is no one knew who Black Adam was. It just looked like Shazam in a black suit. I think that pretty much is. It's Shazam in a black suit. It's pretty much Black Adam. Shazam in a black suit with an attitude problem. You know, if you merge Shazam and Sinestro, you got Black Adam. And I agree with the toys and video on demand and all that stuff. I think the film is going to do fine. The Game Awards are tonight. Cool. Hey, good to see you, Warpin. All right. We are going to get back to the article from the Hollywood Reporter, Boris Kitt. Now, after going through all of that with Black Adam and stuff, and again, Deadline did a pretty good article showing that Black Adam is going to make a profit. Is it going to be a huge profit? Are they going to do Marvel numbers? No, but it's a character nobody heard of. You know, even Shang-Chi didn't do numbers like Doctor Strange or stuff like that. You know, some of these smaller characters take some time to build up But if you do only make a small profit, then doing a sequel when you have to pay your actors more, stuff like that, then yeah, it could be more, it could be a problem. Now, from there they went on to talk about Jason Momoa. And we know that Momoa's got Aquaman the Lost Kingdom coming up at Christmas next year. Now, the what they say in the article, and this is supposedly more rumors, is that this might be Momoa's last time playing Aquaman. Because, well, they're saying that basically he may stop being Aquaman, and that would be the end of the DCEU or the Snyderverse. But Momoa would return as Lobo going forward in whatever the new DC Studios produces. And I know that Jason Momoa loves the character of Lobo, and it would be a dream job for him to play the character. But at this point, the first Aquaman movie made over $1 billion. The second one is likely to do pretty well. You know, it's got the Amber Heard problem. But that put aside, once they start promoting it, I think the movie will do fine. So why would you take the character out of a money-making lead and just recast him as a brand new a character that nobody outside of comics knows? It's not like Lobo is a huge character. Everybody knew who Aquaman was. He was a bit of a joke. But, you know, you take a character who's a bit of a joke and you look at him and suddenly it's Jason Momoa, you go, wait, that what's going on there? You see Lobo, you know, he's a cool character, but is he a comic franchise? He might be the next Deadpool, but he might also be a flop. So why take that gamble? So, but again, it's just rumors. Now, I think it would be tough to do a clean slate at this point, especially since there's still 4 movies coming up. So if, you know, Gunn and Safran make their pitch and it's to get rid of all the Snyderverse characters and to start over, well, that's going to leak. There's no way that stays quiet. And then you've got Warner Brothers trying to promote Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Flash, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Blue Beetle, all with the idea that it's not going to matter. These films don't matter in the overall. And as an audience, we're now kind of geared towards all of these things being connected. So to come out and say, okay, enjoy this movie, but it's not going to mean anything because we're rebooting next year. So just enjoy. It's like Chris Evans would be a good Aquaman. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Yeah, you're probably right. But would you want to do a brand new Aquaman so soon? Ed says, I still think if Marvel and DC would do some of their horror stuff, it would succeed. I think people want to see something else, something different. And a lot of these superhero movies are basically the same thing with a twist. I agree on the horror. I disagree on them being the same thing with a twist, at least with Marvel, because every time Marvel does another movie, they tend to go into a different genre. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy is very different from Shang-Chi, which is very different from Doctor Strange, which is different from Iron Man. They're all slightly different genres. Just the Captain America movies. You look at the first Captain America movie, it's a war movie. The second one is like a 70s spy thriller, and then the third one is Civil War. So they're all very different movies. But Marvel is doing some stuff with their horror. They did, the Werewolf by Night thing was a hit, So they're working on Blade. Ed says, but you just said Black Adam was Shazam with a twist. That's what I was getting at. Yes. But I think the character of Black Adam is just Shazam with a twist. Black Adam in the comics is just another member of the Shazam family. It's just one that started off during ancient Egypt. So he's a derivation of the character Shazam. So that's the basis of the character. That's not necessarily them choosing to do, But again, I haven't seen Black Adam yet. I've seen clips, and I loved everything that Dr. Fate seemed to be doing. So I really need to sit down and watch it and do a take on it. But all right, so DC's got these 4 movies coming out. Do you think they're going to do a clean slate and make it that none of them matter before they come out? And if that is the thing they're going to try to do, there's no way it stays a secret, because movie studios, Marvel is probably the best at keeping secrets, and even some of their stuff gets out. And I don't see Zaslav and Gunn and Safran wanting to hurt ticket sales, because they need the ticket sales to be able to do the movies. Warner Brothers is having a problem getting all these movies out because of money. So they need to make money to be able to make more movies. Triple B says he would also make a good Johnny Blaze. Yeah. I don't think Chris Evans would be bad at just about any role, Yeah. I don't think he could play Storm in the X-Men, but most Caucasian males, he could probably pull off the role. Okay, so the article makes it seem like the clean slate is possible, except when it comes to Matt Reeves' corner of the universe. They don't get to touch what's going on with Robert Pattinson and the different spin-offs of the Batman, the different series and the movie spin-off and all that. That's still happening. That's over on its own. And of course, you've got Todd Phillips' Joker sequel. So all of this is specifically having to do with the rest of the DCEU. Ed says, I really hope they keep Pattinson's Batman separate. Having him join a team or adding a Robin, I think, would be a huge mistake. That Batman universe is fantastic. Leave it alone. Leave out the cheesy stuff and keep it as it is, a great detective series. I completely agree with you, Ed. I wouldn't mind seeing them bring in other street level characters, but not a huge amount of them. The Question, Green Arrow, people like that would make sense, but do it in that gritty, darker way. But yeah, you don't want Superman to show up in the Pattinson universe or the Pattinson Batman stuff. It just would really change everything. Now, Pattinson coming into Justice League, like if they did a Justice League movie and Pattinson showed up, but only dealt with that kind of stuff in Justice League, and the rest of the time in his own Batman, he's just insular to Gotham, that might work. Now, so let me finish up with this article. There's very little facts in that article. The only thing we know for sure is that Gunn and Safran are back in Los Angeles, and that Jenkins's current pitch on Wonder Woman was rejected. Everything else is basically speculation and rumors. Now, so why did Jenkins' plot get denied? There are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of possible reasons. And one of the simplest is the fact that her story might have worked against either the tone or the overall story arc that Gunn and Safran are working on. Straightforward. She was working on it before they got hired. This is the direction they want to go. It doesn't work. Simple. There's no other, we're going to clear a slate, anything else. It could just be that simple. And they might have sent her back to the drawing board saying, okay, this is what we're doing. Can you pitch with that in mind? And there's nothing that says that that's not what they did. Because, again, the article doesn't have that information. They don't know what the next step is. But there are some other possibilities. One of which is somebody I mentioned earlier. They might not want to deal with Jeff Johns. Again, I like Jeff Johns. He's a nice guy. But Johns was part of the Justice League films and got caught up with the whole Ray Fisher, Joss Whedon drama. And there's a good chance that the new regime just doesn't want anything to do with anyone involved in all that. So is everything CW S-canned now? I think whatever Gunn plan is will show up on TV before movies just due to the time it takes, and that may conflict with the existing Snyderverse movies yet to release. Everything that Gunn is doing is going to tie into TVs, movies, animation, video games. All of it is supposed to be connected. It's supposed to be one cohesive universe. Again, I don't know if that includes Todd Phillips and Matt Reeves' stuff, but so yeah, I think you can pretty much count all the CW stuff as dead. But then Flash is coming to an end. Stargirl just ended. The only thing left is Superman and Lois, which I don't think has a long life, especially CW's they're getting rid of all their scripted stuff anyway, it seems. What's going to happen to Doom Patrol and Titans? That's another possibility. I don't know what's going to happen there, or with Harley Quinn. Again, we really don't know what the future is for this stuff until Gunn and Safran lay it out for, Zaslav first and his approval, and then to all of us. So, but looking at, why the Jenkins Wonder Woman 3 may have got rejected. Like I said, it could just be they simply just don't want to be tied with Jeff Johns because of his connection to the whole Ray Fisher thing and the Joss Whedon thing. Another possibility is that they may not have faith in Jenkins. And it's starting to seem like maybe other people don't either, because you guys remember that Patty Jenkins announced that she was doing Rogue Squadron for Star Wars, and that has virtually been silent ever since. They did an entire commercial thing for it where she walked out and got into an X-Wing to fly it. And the fact that her father was was a pilot, and she wanted to do a pilot story, and this is all this. And no one talks about Rogue Squadron anymore. Well, let's look at what happened on the Wonder Woman movies. Ed says, I know I'm in a minority, but I don't care for the Snyder work. I thought the Snyder cut of JL was ridiculous, but that's just me. No, and that's fair. I was okay with the Snyder stuff. I liked the Snyder cut better than the Joss Whedon cut, But I get that it's very dark. It's very different. I wouldn't mind seeing a lighter version. I am a fan of Cavill's Superman and Godot's Wonder Woman and Momoa's Aquaman and even Affleck's Batman. I wouldn't mind those characters staying around, those actors, but I would like to see a lighter tone. So, and I think they could do it with something like The Flash doing Flashpoint and maybe a Crisis on Infinite Earths type thing. They could totally reboot the whole universe, keep those actors, and just do what they want. It's built into DC, but I don't know what they're going to do. But let's break down the actual what's happened with the Wonder Woman films. Now, the first one was a success, just hands down. It was a hit. It made $822 million worldwide. Now, but we have to take a look at this, is it was only directed by Jenkins. The story was by Zack Snyder, Jason Fuchs, and Alan Heinberg, and it was scripted by Alan Heinberg. Hey, Kenneth. Werpenstein says, I didn't initially like Watchmen, but it grew on me over time. Yeah, and then I liked their Watchmen follow-up series they did too on HBO. Now, Wonder Woman 1984, on the other hand, was not a success. Part of was due to COVID and the fact that it was released day and date on HBO Max, but the film made $169 million worldwide. And while Wonder Woman scored a 93% from critics and 83% from the audiences on Rotten Tomato, 1984 got a 58% from critics. And it got a 73% from audiences, but I have a feeling that was the Snyder fans bringing it up a bit, because it wasn't a good movie. It was pretty much universally panned. And that story, the story itself, was from Jenkins and Jeff Johns, with a screenplay by Dave Callahan. Now, I could see the studio being kind of hesitant when they walk up and say, here's our idea for Wonder Woman 3, and it's from Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, who just did Wonder Woman 1984. So we don't know the exact reason for the rejection, or even if it was a flat-out rejection. Like I said, she could have been sent back with new parameters. So to speculate from that, and that some of the rumors, is a bit much. The Hollywood Reporter is usually a much more fact-based thing. Now, Ed says, is the Flash actor still in trouble, or did he clean up his act? He's still a mess. He's trying to clean up his act. He's being quiet. He's starting to make some of the right moves, but he's still just a mess. Now, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're in luck, because unlike a majority of this industry, James Gunn likes to respond to rumors and speculations, and he did that. So we're going to take a look at his response right after this message.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hello, my name is Julio Anta. I am the writer of Home from Image Comics. You can pick it up anywhere books are sold. It's a 5-issue series, and you're watching me on The Experience.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. I'm not sure exactly on the status of Ezra Miller, but I will look into it and see where they're at and see if I can get back to you guys on that on Tuesday. I want to read the James Gunn statement, and then something just got posted I want to cover as well, having to do with this. James Gunn's response, he tweeted this out today, and this is to quote. It's a pretty good long statement. As for the story yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter, some of it is true. Some of it is half true. Some of it is not true. And some of it we haven't even decided on whether or not it is true. Although the first month of DC has been fruitful, building the next 10 years of story takes time. And we're still just beginning. Peter and I chose to helm DC Studios knowing we were coming into a fractious environment, both in the stories being told and in the audience itself, and there would be an unavoidable transitional period as we moved into telling a cohesive story across film, television, animation, and gaming. But in the end, the drawbacks of this transitional period were dwarfed by the creative possibilities and the opportunity to build upon what has worked in DC so far and to help rectify what has not. We know we're not going to make every single person happy every step of the way, but we can promise that everything we do is done in the service of the story and in the service of the DC characters we know you cherish and we have cherished our whole lives. As for more answers about the future of the DCEU, I will sadly have to ask you to wait. We are giving these characters and the stories the time and attention they deserve, and we are still have more questions to ask and answer. Yeah, fractious, good word. Now, that's what he said. But while I've been doing this, Deadline has just posted a new article, and it's talking about the reaction and some of the more details. And I want to just read some of it from you as I skim this. Supposedly, this has got Hollywood turned upside down, all the rumors and stuff, because it's coming from the Hollywood Reporter. There's a grain of, everybody's taking it with a grain of truth. Instead of, you get it from a lot of these sites, you take it with a grain of salt. The fact that it's Hollywood Reporter, people are taking it more seriously. Now, nobody understands why they would just cut ties with all these big actors, especially since Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, and Dwayne Johnson are all repped by one of the major agencies out there. Why would you go about, basically cutting off your nose to spite your face in the same way that like Disney was having a problem with Scarlett Johansson? They worked it out. Yeah, it would be a mess to do that. So again, I don't take it seriously that they're going to chop that all off. But they go into a little more detail in some of the different things. Like on Wonder Woman 3, they're saying their sources say that it was Patty Jenkins who walked away after receiving notes on the treatment she had submitted to the studio. Apparently her threequel pitch had character arc problems which rivaled that of Wonder Woman 1984, which despite being impacted at the box office for the worst by closed New York City, 58% Rotten Tomato. So basically Jenkins walked away after getting her notes back because they're saying, okay, there's character arc problems here, like there were in 1984. And maybe it comes down to the fact that Patty Jenkins might be a great director, but not a good writer. You know, maybe she needs someone to be better teamed with, or I don't know. But they're saying that the group provided notes. Jenkins fought back and defended her vision that the three characters' arcs were solid. Jenkins was given the opportunity for another pass, but opted to walk. So that's huge right there. That it's not them saying no to her. She's saying, I don't want, I want to do the story I want to do. So that's creative differences in the long run. As for Man of Steel 2, it was DeLuca and Abdi's decision with Johnson's sources tell us to put Cavill's Superman at the end of Black Adam to give the darker movie an uplifting, exciting cliffhanger. Cavill is managed by Danny Garcia, same as Johnson. So they didn't like it and wanted to wait for Safran and Gunn plan to come into Hence. Hence, Man of Steel 2 was never greenlit, didn't have a director, nor was packaged. So, yeah, there was no guarantee that Man of Steel was happening. It was just an idea, but it's still a possibility. Cavill shot the scene about the cameo in The Flash. The studio right now is sitting on these options until they confer with Safran and Gunn. So again, a lot of this talk and stuff is happening in a void because Gunn and Safran haven't finished their plan yet. So a lot of this speculation seems like it's the studio trying to figure out what they're supposed to do without knowing what the overall plan is. They don't want to commit money and stuff like that. Werpenstein says, I wonder if DC could pick up the actors that have exited the MCU. Downey, Green Arrow, Johansson, Power Girl, Evans, Aquaman. They'd be very expensive. And I think right now they'd be better off staying with the ones they have because they're already under contract, where Downey Jr. would be way out of their budget. Yeah, let me see if there's anything else in this article. So yeah, Black Adam 2 has been radio silence from Warner Brothers. However, Warner Brass and Johnson are elated that the pick stands to make a profit north of $50 million, despite false media reports. Yeah, so will there be a complete reboot of the DC core stars? One studio insider tells us at no point was there any preconceived notion of not continuing with these actors. It all boils down to The Flash and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom do at the box office, not to mention the studio doesn't want Godot to hang up the Wonder Woman belt. And Jason Momoa's Lobo, this is mere fan speculation at this time, given how the actor looks like the anti-hero. Momoa and Gunn are friends, given how the former made a cameo as Aquaman the later in the Peacemaker. Yeah. So Deadline is kind of following up. Like I said, a lot of people were speculating off of this article, and I think the article was more rumor and speculation than it was facts. So Deadline seems to have maybe narrowed down a little bit more answers. The idea of a clean slate doesn't seem to be in the works. It doesn't make sense. JD says, plus Downey is out of the superhero age range. Johansson and Evans soon will be. I don't know if they soon will be, but yeah, I don't think Evans wants to come back, or if he is, he'll come back as Captain America. I don't see him taking on a new. If he takes on a new franchise, I think it'll be something completely different. Not a superhero. More of a Jack Ryan type character or something like that. So yeah, I think a lot of the speculation from the Hollywood Reporter, which if you go to any site that covers superhero movie stuff, they've all got their big headline things. Is this the end of the Snyderverse and all of that? But the truth is we don't know, because the studio doesn't know. The rumors and the speculation going on in the studio are the people who don't have the answers. It's not Safran, it's not Gunn, Abdi, or DeLuca, or Zaslav. It's the lower level people who are talking, and that's what's getting picked up. So until we know that Gunn and Safran have finished their plan, that it's been approved, I wouldn't take any of the speculation to heart. Werpenstein says maybe they would be good for a Kingdom Come movie, one shot with older heroes. Now that would be interesting. So I do like that. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think a lot of people were speculating off of a rumor-filled article. I think it was a little irresponsible of the Hollywood Reporter to run it, because I think it's CJD, now you got me calling him Peter Gunn. James Gunn is really good about clearing the air on speculation and rumors. So until you get it from him, or we get clear, he's likely to come out saying, hey, I just had the meeting with Zaslav, we're going forward. Would you say the article is wild-ass speculation? Yes. Go ahead. You just really wanted to run that again, didn't you? All right, guys. So that's my breakdown of it. It just sounds like that the next Wonder Woman movie is going to come from somebody else, and I can't say that's a bad thing. I think Jenkins showed that she may be great at directing these films, but she needs help when it comes to storytelling. Sorry to say it, but if Wonder Woman was great, 1984 wasn't, and the treatment for that was the same team that did 1984, it's kind of obvious where you got to look. All right, guys, we're going to wrap that up here. Stick around for What's in the Box, and then Space Cadets, and our late show with Kicking It with Henri. And I will see you guys next week. Have fun. Good night.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.